business, the regularly scheduled Shelburne Select Board meeting of Tuesday, April 23, which I now call to order. The first item is to approve the agenda. I will make a proposal in the form of an amendment that we convene an executive session as item 17B to follow 17A, which is the convention of the Liquor Commission regarding a contract.
And would that include then moving item 11?
And as a consequence, moving, scrubbing 11.
I second.
Seconded by Mike. Discussion? Comment on anybody's part? Hearing none, those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and those opposed, nay. This evening, Colleen Parker and Jamie Hines will not be present. The next item is to approve Select Board meeting minutes of March 26, as well as April 9, 2019. The March 26 meeting minutes were, as we may recall, tended to allow Colleen to enter some specific information about when she joined the meeting by phone and when she was not here, and she's done that with
Yes.
you.
Minutes are updated to
And the
reflect
minutes have
those
been
times.
updated and corrected as such.
I move to approve the minutes.
Mike moves to approve the March 26, 2019 minutes.
Second.
Mary seconds. Any discussion? Any discussion in the audience? Hearing none, seeing no hands. Those approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. And the second item are the April 9 minutes.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve? We had nobody absent, so we are a quorum, right?
Right. I move to approve the April 9th minutes.
Mike moves to approve.
Second.
Mary seconds. Is there any discussion on the April 9, 2019 minutes? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The next item are public comments, and we begin, as is our routine, with Ruth Hagerman and her observations on the new Library Town Center project.
Okay, well, anything I have to say, I think you can see yourself. The siding's going up, and it's just getting visible. Yeah, I think you can see it from your car as you come south. The west side is almost done, and they're coming around to finish up the south side. And I think it looks really good, but I'm biased. The very large trench that's being put in that you may have noticed that's kind of running from the fire station over towards Town Hall is for a new hydrant that the fire department wanted us to put in. Inside, things are really moving along. We're trying to get the wallboard up so they can start painting everywhere next week. And I can't think of much else. I mean, they're in there working all the time, making progress. I think we're on track.
Looks
Any
great.
questions? All right, thanks.
We're happy for them with the weather,
Yeah.
for sure.
They're happy too.
They're happy too, for
I'll show
sure.
you.
Yeah. Thanks, Ruth. Any other public comments? John?
The two matters I wanted to mention tonight, and I'll be brief. I think the town should delay capital investments projects such as the new firehouse until we know the full cost of the town's actions against Vermont Rail. Secondly, I find the board's blind loyalty to the town attorney to be totally mystifying and indefensible. On our behalf, she initiated and pursued a legal feud against a local company, meeting defeat in every court. In the world where the rest of us reside, that pattern of failure would lead to dismissal for cause. Can you please explain why Shelburne is different?
Thank you, John. Maybe two quick comments. I'm I'm not sure I understand your first request about an all-in cost. An all-in cost of the Vermont Rail litigation, is that what you're asking for?
The total cost when it's all, I'm guessing there is more to come.
Oh, okay, so your expectation is it's more than the 516 that's been reported?
Yes.
Okay, and on the second matter, I think it deserves repetition that the town attorney acts at the direction of the board, at the direction of the select board, John.
But she has a professional responsibility to tell them unpleasant truths and stand down.
I think I'll just repeat again, the town attorney, whether it's Claudine or whether it's Brian or anybody else, acts at the specific direction of the select board. But I thank you for your comments. We'll certainly keep in mind your request
Yes.
so that we can provide a dollar to you as soon as that's, makes sense.
And John, I'll clarify, she doesn't have a duty to stand down. She only has a duty to stand down if the client asks her to do something that she can't justify under the rules or under the law. So she has no duty to step down. In fact, the opposite is true. She has the duty, so long as she's acting within the law and the rules, to do all that she can for the client within those bounds. She doesn't have to agree with the action of the client, and she may not have in this case, and of course we can't really talk about that here. But that doesn't require a duty to stand down.
What about her responsibility to tell the client, in this case the board, that the chances of success are 0.1%?
You don't know what she said to the client.
Well, she went to bat for the client
That's her duty.
in a variety of courts.
That's her duty.
My comments stand.
Thank you, John. Is there any other discussion? Sue?
Susan McClellan, 910 Falls Road. Rumor has it that the sewer progression work on Falls Road will start on May 6th. Is that correct? No?
It is likely that the sewer work will start soon. I don't yet have a specific
Okay.
date, but we will be letting everyone know as soon as possible.
Good. Good.
Is that limited to the leg up the hill past Thomas up Byers Hill?
So there are several pieces to that. There will be a one-day road closure on May 1st down by the La Platte Bridge where work is going on and there's a subdivision happening there. That's a one-day thing, unrelated to the other sewer work. Then we still have 4 homes yet to connect on closer to the 4-way stop. So that's going to require a closure and reinstituting the Bacon Drive detour for several days. And we'll be keeping everyone well informed on that. The other piece of it then ultimately will be repaving of all the areas that were disrupted last year, Harbor Road and both Falls Roads.
So down by where we are is not going to be,
I'll double check and let you know.
okay.
I don't think
But
we've
it's-
been attacked to
Yeah,
the
I
new
don't think
thing.
we have
We
that.
haven't been, you haven't been.
So I know there's 4 homes yet to be connected, so.
You're up toward the Four Corners, right?
Right, but we're back the other way,
Near
And-
Bacon.
near Bacon, and we haven't been connected yet to the new line, so we would just, that's why she was
We
asking.
would, yeah.
Well,
because
good question. We wouldn't want to leave you behind.
Well, no, we want to do it
Well,
once and get
I
done.
have to make arrangements. for
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susan.
I'll double check with Chris and let you know.
Thanks, Susan. Any other comments? Sir? Good to see you again.
Thanks. I was gonna just email these, but I figured I haven't gotten a chance to do it, so I'll a little bit closer.
Need to know your name.
Oh, Nicholas Falls Road. One of them was there's a lot of folks, I guess, who live on Marset that complain about high traffic, or not high traffic, but speeding cars. And I live on Falls Road. I don't really notice it a whole lot, but I did notice that we usually put out digital signs so drivers can see how fast they're going. But people still, I guess, are upset on Marset. But I thought just throwing an idea out there to just put a speed bump or two on Marset between Route 7 and Falls, I guess, because that might force people to slow down without having to have a cop be there often to monitor it. And then what was the other comment I had was when, actually I'll save that for email, but that was all I had was the speed bump thing for now.
Thank you, Nicholas. Well, Lee can weigh in as well, but there's actually a significant amount of activity planned for the spring, including fog lines and renewal of the crosswalks. The speed sign has been relocated on the other side of the corners, as you may see, between the Four Corners and Littlefield. They move it around according to need and habit. And at some point, we can put you in touch with the village traffic safety group, which is comprised of your neighbors and who are immediately up to speed on all of those activities and which you may want to join. We did, at some points, a year or more ago, discuss a speed bump as well as a crosswalk on Marset at the intersection of the terraces. It's a difficult problem there because there's no landing. There's no convenient landing. So a crosswalk is a little problematic. We made some changes the year before that in Green Hill to put the gate in to restrict and prevent crossing traffic that was taking a shortcut through. And that certainly has calmed down that side of the intersection a great deal. But you make good points, and it's the time of year when all of this is more visible, and we're also more aware of it. There are more people out, and we appreciate your interest. And again, Lee can give you the detail of the Village Traffic Safety Group, which you would I think, I think it'd be great if you join them in their efforts.
Thank you for the update. I'm not terribly concerned, but I was mostly speaking on behalf of people who post on Front Porch Forum. When I walk, I don't personally see a lot of speeding cars, but I'm also at work all day. But I figured I would, as I was walking down Marset, I figured like, oh, maybe a speed bump would work. But thank you for all the work that's done. If I get a chance to meet the traffic advisory or committee, I'll thank them for all that work, because that's a lot more than I knew was going on. So thank you.
We had good success with speed bumps on Bacon, which is the detour from the project that we were just discussing. Those were kind of coincidental because traffic had to go somewhere. But they were removable given plowing and other factors. So it's a constant discussion of what's the most effective measure for how long, where, in what form, and at what cost. And we'll continue with those efforts this year in that area. Ruth?
Yeah, I had a question. Ruth Hagerman, Vista Drive. So 2 years ago, Irish Hill was repaved from the La Platte up to Spear, and there's a center line, but nobody ever repaved the two side lines, whatever you call those. And it's really scary. I walk on that road, and my husband rides his bike, and I think having the lines to remind people that there's an edge to the road would help a lot. So I don't know what happened to them, but put
You
it out
mean
there.
like a fog line, Ruth?
I don't know what you call them, the white lines on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ruth.
Thanks.
Any other comment? Any other discussion? Question?
Just wanted to let Nick know that the Pedestrian Safety Committee meets every third Thursday of the month. They just met last Thursday.
Last Thursday night,
Yeah, so if you're interested, you could contact Jane Zanatti, and she'd love some more help, I'm sure, with her committee.
Yeah, maybe. Thank you.
Yeah, please do, because it's a neighborhood group as well. It's a very interesting number of folks who live in that Marset Falls Road neighborhood, and I think you'd enjoy their company at the same time. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, the next item are select board comments. I have one, it's brief. and it's to recognize that this is Lee's first anniversary with us.
Is indeed. Thank you.
Isn't that paper? I think it's paper, so
Yep.
we're commemorating it. It's all the paper we've got. Thank you.
That he's aged and
Thank you.
otherwise just beginning to discount humanity is not anything to do with us, I'm sure. This has been a very challenging year for any professional, and the one thing you hope to see and wish to have happen is for a professional to become more of one, and that's certainly been our experience this year in totality. So there will be other anniversaries, including a 6-month probationary period that ends pretty quickly, but we wanted to mark the occasion. It does not seem like a year has passed by any means for any of us, perhaps least of all for Lee.
Hard to believe, but thank you all.
Mike,
I don't have any comments this evening, thank you.
Mary?
None.
None. Any discussion? Hearing none. The next item is the town manager report.
Thank you. As noted, we'll be getting more information out about the sewer line project, and we'll get in touch as soon as we can on the details on that. Green Up Day is coming up on Saturday, May 4th. It's always the first Saturday in May. I think we have some folks who are willing to step up and help coordinate that. The bags are here in the town clerk's office, the big green bags, so if anyone is interested in helping out in their particular neighborhood, those bags are available here at Town Hall. We still have some openings. I'll be advertising again on Front Porch Forum. We still have some openings on our various committees, boards, and commissions, including the Veterans Committee, the Tree Committee, the Dog Park Committee. We'll also be looking for a new representative to Green Mountain Transit Authority, and there may be a few others as well. But we'll be getting information out on that as well, and we're thankful for those who've stepped up so far.
Thank you.
I have a question, Lee. How's it going hiring your assistant?
Thank you. We did advertise for that. We received roughly 25 applications, and I expect we'll be interviewing shortly.
Great.
Looking forward to that.
I bet.
We all are.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the town manager? Hearing none, the next item is the commission, board, and committee and other appointments, which are tonight fairly numerous. And Lee, do you want to step us through each one?
Yes, thank you. Linda Reel, well known to all of us, has applied for a seat on the Social Services Committee. She can't be with us tonight. She is elsewhere helping family, but she's looking forward to serving on that. Georgine Grover, the chair, is looking forward to having her as a member of that committee.
I would move to, oh, go ahead.
Want to say a few
Georgine
words,
is here,
Georgine?
thank you.
Georgine Grover. Linda came to our meetings. She's been through the rubric with us, how that we use to decide, funding grants. And she's excited about joining us, so we're happy to have her. We had one member whose term expired, so we're short one person anyway. We could always use one or two more, and we're happy to have her. So I hope you'll approve her application.
Great. Well, I'm sure you are. Couldn't think of a better match. I was just really pleased to see that. What is the term?
The term would be a standard 3-year term, since someone's term is expired anyway.
Okay, so we're talking about April 1, 2022?
22.
I would move to appoint Linda Reel to serve on the Social Services Committee for a term to begin immediately. And as of, I would say, April 1, 2022. Is that?
I second that.
Seconded, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Georgine.
Thank you, Georgine. Next up is an application by Nick Esposito for the Tree Advisory Committee. And the chair of that committee, Gail Henderson King, is enthusiastic about his application.
He can't be here either?
Want to talk to us just a
Oh,
little
there
bit,
he
Nick,
is.
about your
He is
interest?
here
Duh.
to speak to you.
I have no or very little experience with trees, but I did attend Branch Out Burlington's tree keeper program for 2 hours with the Burlington City Arborist, because I have a number of trees on my property that have to be taken care of. So I'm learning to do it for my own home, but I figured some of the skills that I'm going to be building starting this past month, and then going to the tree keeper program, and then over the course of the summer continuing to go to UVM's Horticulture Center off of Route 7. They're doing a number of workshops. I've attended one so far, and then I hope to sign up for UVM's Master Gardener program in the fall, but for the 2020 course year. So I'll be learning and probably asking the members of that committee more about our role and stuff like that.
Thanks, Nick. Do you have any questions of us?
I don't think so. I read that there's a policy, and so I kind of understand the regulatory body that oversees and puts standards out. So I'll probably read the standards at some point if somebody has them on the committee already. So.
Nick, I'll ask you what our colleague asks everyone, which is, have you read the ethics ordinance?
I have not read the ethics ordinance, but I will do that.
Please
Thank
do.
you.
Okay.
Yeah, please do. We forgot to remind Linda, but Linda has heard enough times.
I think Linda knows about it.
Yeah.
I think she's good with
But
that.
we will remind her nevertheless. But thank you, Mary.
I will read that.
Any questions?
She was sort of an ad hoc member of your.
And the term is
I believe this would also be a 3-year term.
2 years, so we're talking to 20.
I think this will be 3 as well.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I move to appoint Nick Esposito to the Tree Advisory Committee for a term of 3 years, beginning immediately. Right.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, come back and let us know how the Master Gardener went.
Yes.
Ruth will be interested. She's sitting right next to you. She's pretty familiar with that program.
We also had an application by Ted Grozier for one or another of committees, but he's not available tonight, and he agreed that that could wait till May 14.
Okay.
So next up would be,
Until when, May
that we'd
15th?
take him up at our next meeting on May 14.
Our next meeting's not until May 14th.
Yeah, this is a 5 Tuesday month.
This is one of these 3-week.
Right.
This one or next month? This one. Okay, thank you, sorry.
So next up is an application by Pete Gaddu for Deputy Health Officer. We thought he had been already reappointed, but the state informed us otherwise. He's interested in continuing serving, and Bob Lake, who's the health officer, is interested in having him as his deputy. Pete did go to a training recently, which was very helpful. And apparently this is for a several-year term. I'm not entirely sure which. It may be until otherwise needed. I don't have a specific time frame, but sorry.
Is it indefinite? We renew Bob's.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. This one came up late in the process.
Okay.
So we could appoint him for whatever the statutory
And leave it
term
to
would
you
be and
To
And
fill in the.
take it that
in the
way.
blank, yeah.
I move that we appoint Pete Gaddu to Deputy Health Officer until otherwise needed, I guess, or otherwise noted.
For the statutory term?
For the
Yeah.
statutory
There
term.
you go. Seconded.
Second.
Mary seconds. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And next up would be a reappointment of Dean Pierce to the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission Planning Advisory Committee. And this would be for a 2-year term commencing July 1 and running until June 30, 2021. And you could also appoint an alternate if you wished. We haven't had one apparently in recent years. Dean, I think, has been a regular participant in those meetings.
Did you say June 2021?
Yes, be running till June 30, 2021.
Move to appoint Dean Pierce to serve as the Shelburne representative to the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission's Planning Advisory Committee for a term to end on June 30, 2021.
I second that.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, nay.
And last but not least for
The
this
Ethics
evening,
Committee upgrade.
I'm sorry, that did not come in. But it,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The upgrades of the two.
oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you. We do have those.
Upgrades of what?
So we
Moving them
have,
from alternate to full.
On the Ethics Committee, Kate Cross. and
Thank you.
Pete.
Kate and Pete.
right, so that would be a suggestion to move Kate Cross and Pete Gaddu from alternate positions on the Ethics Committee to the regular sitting seats.
I move to move Kate Cross and Pete Gadju into the full seats on the Ethics Committee.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Mary, and I think that's probably a better word than upgrade.
Yeah, I didn't want to say promote.
It's a little,
sound
a
right.
little,
Yeah.
in any case. So is there any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And last
Thank you for
is
those.
the fire chief as fire warden.
Yes, and this is another position that flows through you, goes to the state, and this is for a 5-year term. He is presently the duly appointed fire warden, so this would run from July 1 until June 30, 2024. It's a 5-year term.
I would move to reappoint Jerry Wimet as Town of Shelburne Fire Warden for a term to expire on June 30, 2024.
Yes.
I second it.
Moved by Mary, seconded by Mike. Just as a point, does the chief know he needs to fill out this personnel record?
Yes, I'll take care of that.
Okay. That may be a little bit of a surprise to him, but in any case. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank
And
you.
this exhausts
That's good for tonight.
our thing. So again, thank you, Nick. The next item is to discuss whether we should extend the current contract of the auditor for 1 or a 2-year period, or put the matter out to competitive bid. And Peter?
At our last meeting, we discussed the current engagement with our auditors, Sullivan Powers, who just completed the 4th year of audits with the town of Shelburne. A year ago, we had asked them to provide us with an extension option after completing this past year of 2 years. And discussing that with the board last meeting, I think the feeling was to maybe look at no more than a 1-year extension on the contract and to go back and see if they would agree to that. They have agreed to that at the same price that they had proposed for the 2-year extension, so which would be $23,700. That's a 3% increase from what the cost was for this last audit that was just completed. So that was one thing. We also reached out I tried to contact 3 other firms to see if they would be interested in bidding, not knowing exactly if we were too late in the season for opportunities for other auditors to bid at this time. Of the 3 that I contacted, 1 of the partners indicated they would be. Another contact did not return my call. And the 3rd one generally said they were interested, but it wasn't somebody from their municipal group, so I'm a little cautious about whether they would be, whether that group would be interested or not at this time. So that's where we're at this point. I think in talking with Lee, we feel pretty comfortable with extending 1 more year with Sullivan Powers. You've all seen their work. It will be a bit more complicated this year because we do have what they call a single audit, which is when you spend above a certain level of federal dollars, there's some extra work that has to be done. And again, Sullivan Powers is very competent and qualified, plus they've got the history with us, so they should be able to accomplish that fairly easily. So that's where we're at this point.
Thank you, Peter. Lee, any comment?
No, I agree with Peter that given the circumstances, it would make sense to extend for one more year, and then we'll go to bid earlier in the spring next year. Again, with the federal single audit, it's a more complicated process, and they know our system, so we're not having to get somebody completely up to speed from scratch.
I agree. I think the single audit is a major factor. As well, we're within the conventional horizon of terms call it, of auditor. And seems to me to make some sense to extend 1 year with a commitment amongst ourselves that we would bid this out next year. Any other discussion?
I'm comfortable with that. When does the contract begin?
Will be for auditing the end of our fiscal year, so basically the contract is in place, would be in place now.
Oh, okay.
Most of the work is done after the fiscal year ends, so on June 30th.
Well, I would move to continue the contract with Sullivan and Powers for at least 1 more year.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to extend the contract for 1 more year at terms and conditions that Peter has discussed, negotiated with Lee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you, Peter. I will make a quick comment that some of you may recall at the last meeting, one of our members expressed some questions about that, Jamie, but he did say in discussion that if it were the will of the body, he would go along with it, and it's that on which I've counted tonight. The next item is the Harbor Master update, which have been waiting for eagerly.
Oh, okay. Hand these out, and you can browse through them in the
Thank you.
future at your convenience, and I'll have a copy as well for the other board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, first of all, we have a very nice community of boaters at Shelburne Bay Park. They've always been very helpful to each other. Very few problems down there. I don't know if the former member of the select board, Josh, he's had his boat there for several years. He may have filled you in on the operation down there. He's quite happy as well. I just wanted to highlighted a few things here. We could go over the mooring rates. Our mooring rates are much lower than most marinas up and down the lake, mainly because the access. I mean, we don't have the services. You know, the distance to the mooring area on the path is, you know, lugging your gear out there. It's very inconvenient. Recently, we've had a problem with milfoil blocking the mooring area in July and August when the lake is still. And there's a marina expansions in Burlington. They added 160 new spots at the new marina. LCT is adding 70 spots. And that's why we have a vacancy of 5 right now. Usually there's a wait list of 20. And we only have a wait list of 4 now, and they want a mooring next year. So we may have to advertise a little bit to fill those 5 spots, but when and if the weather breaks, they probably will fill up. So, you know, for now, I discussed it with Peter briefly, and, you know, it seems like we should keep the mooring rates the same for at least this year. Questions on that?
I would love a quick primer, as I'm new.
Okay.
So these are the moorings off of Bay Park, or
Yes.
Shelburne Bay Park?
Yes.
And do we, I mean, Lee, do we look at this as a profitable enterprise, or we're just covering our costs?
It's profitable.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's roughly 20,000 a year.
And so the town, and if I'm being naive and silly, just.
No, go ahead.
I mean, the town
good to
owns
ask.
these and we lease them?
Rent them,
Okay,
For
but
the
it's
year.
considered town property?
town moorings, yes.
Okay.
We have 68 moorings. I usually keep 1 spare for emergency reasons. Something happens to another mooring, or someone returns and a Canadian, for example, is on the mooring, and the person comes back, no place to go. And so they'll call me, and I'll say, hey, take mooring 55.
I see.
So it's nice to have at least one mooring extra available. And I guess, the extra funds are used in Bay Park, maintaining other parks in town.
Okay.
Although we've had I'll talk about the capital improvement project in a minute. Occupancy rate is about 50% Shelburne residents. It's $650 for a town resident and $850 for non-resident for a mooring fee for the year, which is, less than half the price of any other place. But there is that inconvenience of walking out there. Mostly Vermonters. We have maybe 3 or 4 people from out of state. Like I said before, 5 moorings available for this year and 4 persons on the wait list for next year. The big thing we've had going on, our mooring blocks were I think they were installed in the mid-'80s or so. And concrete blocks are 4 by 4 by 2 feet high. And they have 2 lift hooks in them, and that's what you hook your mooring tackle to. Well, one hook wore out, and the other one, they both wore out. I switched it from one loop to the other loop, and that eventually wore out. And we installed 42 blocks last summer, and the remaining 26 will be installed Thursday if the weather's nice.
There's no tidal effect, but do they move around? Do they get
No,
icing?
these blocks are 4,700 pounds. And this time, instead of 2 lift loops in each block, the cost is mainly putting the blocks in. Mm-hmm. The ferry company's coming over with a barge, and they set them in place. So I had 3 loops or lifts put in each block. And one of them is stainless steel, which should last 30 or 40 years.
So it's a community block?
No, one block
Per boat.
per mooring, per
Okay.
boat. And there's, you have the mooring grid there in blue.
Do you take the old blocks out?
Good question.
That seems to would be very difficult.
Yes, I've had to move a few around. The ones we're doing this year are in shallow water, and the old blocks can't stay there. So the person that owns Juniper Island may want them for his historic dock. But so I'm negotiating with him taking them. I spoke with Paul Goodrich, and he said, get rid of them. No one would want them. So I have to move the blocks out of the shallow area and put them in a slightly deeper area with lift bags. And I have 2 lift bags. They lift 6,000 pounds apiece. But the blocks are settled in they're 2 feet high, but they're submerged by a foot. So it takes like a 12,000 pound lift to pull those blocks out.
Okay.
So that's, to be done this summer when the water warms up. I like working when the water was warmer. Any questions on the capital improvement project? Like I said, there are 3 lifts in each block now, so it should last at least 50 years, longer than we'll be around.
And the 3 is just in case one wears out, you move to the next?
Move to the next and then move to the next. But like I said, I had 1 stainless steel lift put in, and the service on that will be 30 years plus. And if it does wear out, move to a galvanized one.
Right.
And they're 7/8 inch diameter, these lifts.
Oh.
So, the other blocks lasted 30 years, so.
Great.
So it's 30 years on 2 loops, and our stainless steel one, another 30 years. So I expect to get, at least 60 years out of those. I won't be around, but.
I'm going to try.
So, so I had those custom made. There's a newsletter I send out, and like I said, two problems we have now are gulls and cormorants. They'll pick 3 or 4 boats every year and just destroy it with waste. And they eat fish on board. And so I've encouraged people, and it's working, to buy these little, if you look at that little newsletter, you'll see these little gadgets that scare the birds away, ducks, cormorants, gulls. We had problems years ago with, in Burlington, transient boaters, mainly the Canadians, they can hook up in Burlington for the day and you don't have to pay until after 7 at night. Well, they were doing the same thing in our mooring area. And like I said, people would come back to their moorings and all of a sudden there's a Canadian that has rowed to shore in their dinghy and, is taking a walk in the park or walking over to Shelburne Farms. One of our moorers comes back and what do? So these signs, we put perimeter signs out, bilingual signs, and they're fantastic. Haven't had a problem in years. Same thing with the dock. We have dock signs. One time I walked out to the dock and there were 3 55-foot boats on the end of our dock. The dock's not even strong enough. And I said to the people, you can't park here. There's no sign. So once I put dock signs up, no problem. And it works. And it's mainly the Canadians. If you sign it, they won't break the rules. It's great. Any questions? Yes?
Do people ever put canoes or kayaks in over there?
No.
They use
I
the
have,
state.
the shore space is precious, especially when the water's high, and I have everyone put their number on the stern of their dinghy. Mooring 52 would need a 52 there.
Okay.
Use a black magic marker or these little boat numbers that you buy. And if people don't do that, I'll put I'll tape a letter underneath their dinghy, so next time they come, and we have a rule in the town ordinance saying we can impound it, and it'll be
You
like
can?
yes.
So if I wanted to go kayaking down in that area, I wouldn't use the docks to put my kayak in. I'd go to the state fishing access, maybe?
Right.
Do you encourage that, or do people
Oh
ever?
yeah, and like I say, people ask me all the time, can I leave a canoe down there? Can I leave a kayak? I said, no, our space is precious. We have 68 moorings. That's 68 boats on the shore, 68 dinghies. So we can't let anybody else stay there. So anything that's left, and I haven't had, usually when I put a sign on it, the next time they come down, they remove it. Although I've had a few abandoned dinghies, I have one right now.
Does it work?
What's that?
I'm looking for a
The
dinghy.
dinghy? It's chained to a tree and it leaks, but
Never mind.
Do you ever have any enforcement issues?
no, it's, no, like I say, the boating community is very good. I haven't really had a problem. And
Must be that Canadian influence.
what's that?
Must be that Canadian influence.
I mean, before I had the signs, yes, we had problems. But since we have installed the perimeter signs, no problems at all. It's
Is the
everything
town, are the town rescue craft, are they moored there as well?
No, it's too inconvenient. I mean, I could have I could have a mooring for $650 for the season. I'm paying $2,200 in the city of Burlington, mainly because I dive. I need a dock space to load my scuba gear, tools, whatever I'm doing
Yeah,
for work at Bay Park. And a mooring, I mean, what would I do?
yeah.
Bring it in a wheelbarrow out to the dock and come in? It's just impractical. So.
Yeah, the fire department's boat is moored at Shelburne Shipyard each summer,
Right.
Okay.
because they have a full dock and ability to bring gear and get out.
So, I did want to emphasize, and I can email the select board some, I was going to show some slides, pictures, but the milfoil problem last year, Lee, you saw some pictures on that. It just trapped boaters. I mean, 30-foot, 32-foot sailboats, they couldn't move. I had to tow them out of there. I took grappling hooks, 2 grappling hooks off the stern of my boat, and I pulled some of the milfoil out of the way. I had to cut several people out, the weeds around the moorings, just so they could get out. And I had to shuffle people around. Fortunately, last summer, about 6 or 7 people didn't put their boats in, so I was able to move people out of the weed-infested area to the deeper water. But, I hope it doesn't get worse in the future.
Has that been the trend? Has it been worsening?
Yes, the last couple of years. And, when we had a heavy north wind, it pushed it in towards the Platte River. But, and it was still, there was a barrier out there, an island. I don't know if any of you saw it. And then there was a community of birds living on top of that milfoil. It was so thick.
Huh.
It was bad. So, any further questions, feel free to email me, give me a call. I'll be glad to sit down with you.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you
Thanks
very
for
much.
running
It was excellent. We appreciate the effort.
I
John?
enjoy it.
Thank you, Dan.
I'm familiar with that mooring, and it's a tremendous amenity and very well cared for. The boaters, they're generally smaller boats, and they are not overly wealthy, so they're not ripping off the town, far be it. They're people who wouldn't be able to put a boat in the water if it weren't for that.
Thank you, John.
So thank you.
Yes, we all thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions? Hearing none. The next item is to adopt a local emergency management plan, which Lee has provided us and will introduce to us.
Thank you. So each town each year is required by the state to update and adopt an emergency management plan in order to remain eligible to apply for various types of Homeland Security grants. It's also one of the several elements required for us to be eligible for the maximum reimbursement from FEMA if there were a disaster and we had significant repairs. So this update has been vetted by a variety of the emergency services and other staff. It's a more comprehensive document than we've had previously in terms of its contact list, maps available. We will likely continue to evolve this plan to suit our needs over the course of the year, but for now, this should more than meet the requirements of the state. I've had the draft looked at by the Regional Planning Commission and the coordinator for Vermont Emergency Management. They just had very minor edits, suggestions that we've already included in this. And hopefully you'll adopt this and bring it into a legal effect for the year.
I was very impressed. I thought the improvement, meaning no criticism, I thought the improvement over the past was very noticeable.
Thanks.
I was very impressed. I thought that was a really well-done piece of work, and we should be grateful for the efforts that you've led of a number of people who have contributed. So,
Well, it's a team effort, as always.
yeah. Any discussion?
Lee, I didn't see it when I looked through this, but is there like a provision for, like a Amber Alert or lost people or anything like that in the emergency plan?
There isn't a specific statement in that regard, but if there were one, we can call the state watch officer and they can activate that kind of alert through what's called the VT alert system.
Mm-hmm.
And we also intend this year to become an authorized user of that system ourselves so that we could put out a similar sort of alert. And the advantage of the VT alert system is you can send it out within a geographically targeted area, or you can ping everybody who has signed up for VT alert, or you can actually ping everybody, kind of like a reverse E911 system, even if people haven't signed up. But if you're not familiar with it, you can go to the state's website. It's called VT Alert. It's a free service. You can sign up for specific types of alerts. They might be weather alerts or other types of emergencies, or you can sign up for everything under the sun. They've been sending out quite a few of them this week for flooding, for example.
Right.
It's a handy service. It's a free service. I find it very helpful.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Mary?
No.
None? Any questions in the public? Hearing none?
Move to adopt the local emergency management plan for the town of Shelburne as provided to us.
I'll second that.
Moved by Mary to adopt as presented, seconded by Mike. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. That's a job well done.
Thank you.
You know, please communicate to all of those who assisted.
I sure will.
The next item, number 11, as some of you who arrived later might need to know, was scrubbed. A similar item the agenda was amended to include a similar item as 17B. The next item following is to review and approve the PSA, the Purchase and Sales Agreement with Road to Hannah, doing business as Healthy Living Market and Cafe.
So this has been an item of discussion at several meetings. As noted previously, this is the legal agreement the town has vetted and may sign depending on the board's will. As noted previously, it does not actually commit the town to buying the property on the north end of town. It commits us to working with Healthy Living, as we've already voted to approve some money for that, doing the site analysis and the site investigation and permitting, and commits us to putting an item on the ballot for next year's town meeting if all those site analyses prove positive. But it's not a typical purchase and sales agreement in that we're not actually committing to buy the property at this time. We're committing to work through a process, put it on the warning for next year if this year's work even proves suitable. It was held off from a prior meeting, waiting for you to see the exhibits attached to it. You have those, you've seen those, and if it's your will, it's ready to be signed, and then this would launch the site analysis process for the year to come.
Questions, discussion? Mary?
None.
None? Mike?
I have none.
Any questions in the public? Susan?
Susan McClellan, Falls Road. What would happen if there was a problem with zoning? Where would that put the whole project?
If there were a problem with the permitting,
Because this is permitting through zoning and,
right, it will, this year's work would involve not only the physical site analysis, are there contaminants in the ground, are there arrowheads or wetlands or other problems? It also contemplates going through the permitting process, at least conceptually. Will the DRB approve the subdivision of land, and does it appear that a building of the approximate size can be permitted on the site? If those things can't happen, then even if we had to put it on the ballot, I think you'd find a clear recommendation to vote no. So there's no intention to pursue
that
this.
is all
if-
going on this year
Yes.
before it
Yes.
ever goes on the ballot.
Yes, so the plan and the hope is we will know what we need to know if the site's even usable and permittable before we get to the budget season and town meeting warning.
We've said on a number of occasions, the question will be whether the site is suitable. Being suitable includes permittable. So that's a large portion of that determination. And we'll also keep everybody up to speed on progress as the process
It
on.
just seems like we have less than a year now, and I know those things don't go very quickly.
Yes.
We're hoping nobody involved heard that. No, the first
We are
portion,
aware.
we only have less than a year left. That's the portion we want.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But we have a project steering committee, as you know, which Lee chairs, and I'm sure we'll get periodic reports on their progress.
Oh, yes.
I do have a quick question. Lee, do you know how much of the 50,000 has been spent that we allocated for site work and such? Have bills been coming in?
We have not spent any of that money yet.
Okay.
if we sign this tonight, we'll be launching the process, and I anticipate
Of course,
That
I guess
will
that
begin.
makes sense, yes.
Any questions?
No, I moved to sign the purchase and sale agreement and adopt it.
Yeah, I second that.
Mary moves, we adopt. Mike seconds. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You're launched.
I'll have a number of signatures for you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. The next item is to approve a V-Trans paving grant application for $95,000 to repave Barstow Road, which would include an annual financial plan for town highways. Does you want to
So-
speak to it, or Peter?
This is an application to the state for a project contemplated to cost $95,000. It's an 80-20 split, so 20% of that would be town money from the paving budget. We've received paving grants several years in a row, so we're not sure if the state's likely to give us yet another one, but you miss every shot you don't take, so it's worth giving it a try. The piece of that was specifically referenced that the state requires us to sign off on is what they call an annual financial plan for town highways. It's basically a statement demonstrating that indeed we do spend our own money to maintain our highway system in good shape. So if you approve the grant application, it would also include approving and signing the financial plan.
I would move to approve, unless there's, sorry, there's probably some discussion.
What
Mary
is
moves approval of the grant application. Mike seconds.
I
Any
second.
discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
The next item is to approve a grant agreement with the Nature Conservancy re the Ewing Land Conservation Project, background materials of which have been provided.
Did we skip
Whoops.
14?
I think we have
thought we
one.
skipped 14.
Oh, I skipped the municipal bond, sorry.
Yeah, that's important.
Gee, and I was nearly finished.
We're doing well.
Approve, the next item, in fact, is to approve a loan application with the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank in the amount of $3,900,000 to finance construction of the new library town center project.
So this is continuing to work on the financing for the new library and associated infrastructure with it in the town hall and the site improvements. In 2017, the voters passed a $6.5 million bond issue to fund the project. A year ago, we applied for $2 million of financing from the Vermont Bond Bank to sort of get the project started. And again, not knowing what interest rates would be doing for a year, so we kind of tried to spread out the bond issues over several years. In addition to that, as a result of the substantial fundraising effort that took place, we have been able to lower the amount that we'd be borrowing from the total amount of the bond to lower it by $600,000 as a result of the private funds that were raised, which is tremendous. So instead of having to borrow $6.5 million for the whole project, we only need slightly less than that. So we're only needing to apply for $3.9 million at this point. So the bond bank is the typical place municipalities go to finance long-term projects. It'll be a 20-year term. To go on our own and issue bonds on our own would be quite complicated for a town our size. That's probably not practical, and we find the rates through the Vermont Bond Bank are quite competitive. So we're in that process now and looking to apply for the $3.9 million to complete the financing of the project.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Mary?
So this would be the last time we would, for this particular project, have to go to the municipal bond bank, right?
That's our expectation, yes.
2 plus 3.9 is 5.9, and
Right.
thank you.
And I'm guessing we'll be able to quantify it when we get the bonds are sold and we get the rates. But I'm anticipating as a result of the private fundraising, that's probably going to save us between $700,000 and $800,000 of loan payments over the term of the bond. So substantial effort, really amazing to see the results of that. And it's going to be reflected in your savings on your tax rate.
That's stupendous. I know, is Ruth still there to, your ears burning? Yeah. It's a stupendous effort on the part of Kathy and her colleagues.
Just out of curiosity, funds are released, it's sort of like a construction project based on meeting certain benchmarks? Is that how it works?
Actually, we apply for the funding, and then hopefully we get approved, which I assume we will. And then as the project proceeds, we show that we've spent the money, and then we are reimbursed by the bond fund. So they're available at closing, but we can only draw them when we prove that we have spent money on the project.
I see. Thanks.
Questions? Anybody's part? Hearing none, those approving, is there a motion to?
I would move to approve the loan application with the Vermont Municipal Bond Bank in the amount of $3,900,000 to finance construction of the new library town center project.
I second that.
Mike seconds to the approval of the loan application. Any discussion? Hearing none, those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
those opposed, aye, and those opposed, nay, nay.
Thanks.
It's such a hurry to get
Thank
to you,
you, Peter.
Gail, I don't know why. The next item, in fact, is the grant agreement with the Nature Conservancy. If you want to discuss that with us?
Yes, well, we have been working on this viewing project for probably about 9 years. It was a real commitment on the part of John Ewing, who passed away about a year ago. And the project is actually in part at this point. The Nature Conservancy is going to be responsible for conserving a portion of the property that is closest to Shelburne Pond and reflects this sort of natural area. The agricultural part of the farm is another project altogether, but you folks approved the expenditure from the Open Space Fund several months back, and I'm assuming today, I haven't seen the funding agreement, so I don't know whether there are any details in it that you might be concerned about, but we are very excited to see it happen and are thrilled that you approved the conservation of that property in the first place. It's going to do a great deal to protect the wildlife, protect the lake, and or the pond, Shelburne Pond, and that's always a good thing for our stormwater protection. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, but as I said, I haven't seen the agreement. I just noticed that it was on the agenda today.
The Vermont Housing and Conservation Board serves as an intermediary here between the initial, the major group and the university. Why is that?
The Vermont Housing Conservation Board, the Nature Conservancy has its own private funding that'll make up any gap. The town provides a commitment to show that the town is behind this conservation, and then the Housing Conservation Board provides a grant which provides most of the funding for that.
I see. Okay.
So really our commitment and the work that we do in raising money for the Open Space Fund really serves as an incentive that just shows other larger funders, in most cases, that the town is behind this project.
And then they transfer the interest to UVM.
To UVM
case,
and to TNC.
Yeah.
TNC will be working with UVM because UVM protects a lot of the land around the pond. And so there's a connection there, and they're most apt to be able to manage that, but TNC will have the right to do some educational trips there or whatever.
Can I ask, was the South Burlington part of this caught up in any of that recent lawsuit about development transfer rights? Do you know?
The development, no, I don't know for sure what South Burlington's role in that has been. I know that part of this Ewing property is on the South Burlington side
Right.
of the border. And so that has been what's held up this agreement for such a long time, because there were some questions about some housing lots that the family had preserved before they conserved the land, and some of those needed access through
I see.
South Burlington Road. So there were a lot of discussions that went on in their board and then in our board, but each of the towns' work was pretty independent.
Okay. Thank you.
I just one unrelated curiosity.
Yeah. I hope I
Today I
can answer
noticed
it.
they've got some bales spread around one of those fields opposite the Cheese Factory Lane intersection. And they're marking something. I wonder if I saw a flock of turkey in the middle. I don't know whether that's what they're trying to attract, or it seemed an odd kind of contemporary
I don't know,
Stonehenge with
but
a
I'll
bunch of
drive
white
by
bales. Yeah,
I'll try by and see if I can figure that out. And
Thank you.
if not, I can always call TNC and ask them.
thank you.
Okay.
They moved the cows.
Did they, well, they've got them positioned around as if they were,
No, but they've been moving the cows. The cows are down on that side now.
over the hill, over there.
to keep
Yep.
from jumping out?
I don't know, but they've got the cows over on that side of the road now.
Yeah, bunch
Thank
of them. Yeah.
I drive by there twice a day to work and back.
All right, well, I should have asked
And
that.
I've been working too much to be able to drive down there.
Yeah.
Thank you. You got any comment?
Just that this is about as straightforward an agreement as you'll ever see. It's been reviewed and vetted by town council. As Gail noted, you've already approved the expenditure, so upon signing of this agreement, it also includes the request for the funds.
And I did learn from John Benhammer just last week that this project, and from Peter Ewing, that the project is finally at the point where we can sign the papers. And
Yes, May 7 is the
yeah.
closing.
Great. It's been a long time.
a long time coming. It's very exciting.
Well, I'll move that we approve the grant agreement with TNC and Ewing Land Conservation Project.
Second.
Moved by Mike, seconded by Mary to approve the grant agreement with the Nature Conservancy, read the Ewing Land Conservation Project. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The next item is to discuss and possibly schedule the Select Board retreat.
So there's been, as you know, we've bounced around a number of dates, times, and circumstances. It seems that there may be agreement to hold a retreat on the evening of Monday, May 13, from 5:30 to 9. Location yet to be determined, and there's been some discussion that perhaps economic development might be a topic of discussion. Perhaps there would be other issues we'd want to explore at that time. That's where we are at the moment.
It sounds good to me.
And
Yeah, May 13th, 5:30 seemed to be agreeable to everybody.
everybody
To
said
finish
they
at
could make it.
9.
And I'm certainly open to suggestions for a location. I'm happy to research that as well, of course.
I'm still a little concerned about, I'll put it in a crude fashion, about how we're gonna use the time. And for what. And I think we need the time for a number of things, for our own purposes of improved relations and understandings of our work and so on and so forth, but without the usual structure of priorities, which in my experience of these retreats has governed virtually the entire session, and which I don't think this year we could work enough to take up a session. I'm concerned that we should have something programmatic to structure the discussion. And some ideas I had included village traffic safety recently that I've communicated to you.
Yep.
Not in the project sense, but in the sense of what does a village in town mean? What role, what condition does a village in Shelburne mean, and how extensive is it, and how much attention should we give to it? is a life at a walking pace possible and desirable? I think these are some decent questions that the traffic safety group could come and discuss again, not as a series of project proposals, but as a theme. I think there are other themes that could be introduced as well. I know economic development is one, but I think that's probably going to be given over now to another meeting. And I would urge that we have some kind of programmatic approach for maybe 2 groups to come with us, or 2 items or 2 topics.
Would it be appropriate to ask all of the members to submit 2 things they'd like to discuss?
Yeah, I think we should do that. I think we should be about that business because this is not that far away.
And they would
Yeah.
be contributions to the formation of an agenda and therefore
Yeah,
fine to discuss.
Yes.
yeah. No, we're without one now. I think the whole point is that we should provide as much direction as we can to Lee about
Yeah, I agree.
what should the program be that night. It is a public meeting, and the venue's yet to be decided, but,
Should we leave economic development to the side since we're going to be discussing that in a full meeting? Or do we want to give a cursory kind
well,
of?
it's a good question, Mike, because the idea at the start was to devote a session
Right,
to that, or to devote most of the retreat to that.
Right.
Then I think the experience of talking to people, it developed. It was way too short a notice to get people to come. Lee's provided us with an example of what might be called an economic development fair, I called it, with 6 or 8
Sure.
presenters, which is very conventional and usual.
for June, this would be in June.
Which I think would be far more efficient for us to do in June
Yeah.
as a standalone than to, I think it would kind of take all of the time for the retreat, really, in a sense. And it requires a lot of time and effort to make the arrangements to get people, to come, which time we may have between now and some point in June, but I'm not sure we have between now and May 13th.
Probably not.
Yeah, yeah. And.
So should we just send to Lee a couple of topics that we'd like to?
Yeah, that would be my encouragement. The idea being these are not necessarily decisions or
Right,
action
sure.
items so much as they are, what role should the town play in business assistance as a general question, without necessarily inviting presentations on particular aspects.
Sure.
Just what business is ours?
Yeah.
Is it our business as a select board?
Yeah. I think that sounds good.
Even a general discussion of where does our policy responsibility stop, and where does our encouragement of specific operations begin? I mean,
Yeah.
so I would encourage all of us, including Jamie and Colleen, who we can, but we're all set with the time, and you're gonna,
We'll get working.
this is a public meeting, by the way, so when we announce it, everybody will know where and when. It will not necessarily be at a venue that can be televised, so we'll have to forego the greater TV audience that night. So.
One thing I'd be interested in is to see where we stand today with respect to the factors that we came up with at our retreat last year. I think we came up with 10 different areas that we wanted to address. And just as a means of checking our work, it might be valuable to look at that and the work we've done on those things.
Always a good suggestion.
Yeah. Now, we may want to put some time frame on it, because if we're going to invite anybody to come,
It's
it shouldn't
going
be
to
the
come
night
in
before.
quickly. Agreed.
So we're gonna invite people to come, and I'm confused. Are we inviting people to come to the retreat?
Well, it's a public meeting, so people will
Well, I
come, but
understand that, but are you asking for specific people to come to give presentations?
given a topic that may be what any or all of us prefer. It may be one way to introduce it, whether it's an individual or who's had an idea, or whether it's a group or a fellow committee. We could hear, in a way, just like we heard from the harbor master tonight, which I found very instructive and helpful. Or a town staff person. I mean, it could be any number of these, but I think we'd have to kind of limit it in terms of the time available.
Yeah.
So it may be that we do invite people to come. In the case of the village thing, I think there'd be some people to invite. In other cases, we may not need, maybe just a background piece or Lee's introduction would be sufficient.
Well, let's see where the topics land
Yeah.
in the next week, and
Yeah.
then we'll
Yeah,
accelerate our work toward a
we'll extend it to
productive
Monday,
evening.
so those who are on vacation have an opportunity to
Yep.
we'll send something along to them. Any other comments, discussion? Hearing none.
Thank you.
We would convene 17A, which we amended to be designated as a liquor commission. At this point, I'll accept a motion to convene as a liquor commission.
So moved.
Moved by Mary,
Seconded?
seconded by Mike to convene as a liquor commission. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. And we have in front of us one license application.
Correct. We have a request from La Villa Bistro for both a first-class license and an outdoor consumption license. Not aware of any issues or concerns on water, sewer, tax payments, nor from any police concerns.
Any discussion? Comment in the public? Hearing none. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Moved by Mary to approve,
Seconded?
seconded by Mike. The liquor application, the two classes,
Yes.
for La Villa Bistro. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Is there a motion to rejoin the general session?
So moved.
So moved by Mary,
Seconded?
seconded by Mike to rejoin the general session. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those disapproving, nay. The ayes have it. The next item would be to entertain two separate motions, which is our practice.
Yes.
I
and
would
have-
move to pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313, to go into executive session because to discuss contract negotiations, the premature public knowledge of which would place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
Mary
Seconded.
moves, Mike seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, nay.
And I would move pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313 to enter executive session to evaluate the town's position and strategy in contract negotiations regarding the net metering purchase agreement, and to invite the town manager to participate.
Seconded?
Mary moves, Mike seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We have to stop. Mike has moved. Mary seconds the motion that we exit executive session to resume the general. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. And you have a motion?
A move to direct the town manager to continue negotiating for the net metering project that is going to be installed on the library.
Moved by Mary,
I second
seconded
that
by
motion.
Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Adjourn.
Thank you.
I move that we
Mike
adjourn.
moves. Mary seconds. Those approving, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, all of
I
you.
want to get some.